Hello, I'm here. Sorry, y'all. Yeah, honestly, Laurel, yeah, I do need to wake up. It has been a hectic 3 weeks at best, y'all. Very hectic. Between work and Uber and going to the beach last week and doing more Uber and work, it has been nuts for me. Now, Dreamer, I didn't forget. Sherry, nope, no, I didn't. Hey, Nana and I are still in speaking terms. We don't speak very often anymore, but we're still in speaking terms. We don't have any kind of beef or anything, no animosity or anything wrong there. Nana and I are still in speaking terms. Um, yeah, I had some errands to do. See, last night I did Uber until like 5 o'clock this morning, and then I came home to feed the cats and everything because I was going to go back out because there was a lock-in party at one of the frats, and that was supposed to be over at 7, and like all the other Uber drivers, but maybe 3 or 4 of us had gone home. And so I was planning on being just staying out driving, and I would just come home to relax for a few minutes before I go back out. I had to use the restroom, feed the cats, that kind of thing. And I sat down for a minute and I passed out in the chair for about, I don't know, hour and a half, 2 hours. Car's still running out in the parking lot because I left it running just to run in and feed the cats and, whatever, and left it running in the parking lot for like 2 hours, but I missed the end of the lock-in party. And so my whole purpose for wanting to go out this morning was done. But then I was awake, when I woke up, I was awake. That's it. So I've been awake. I've had 2 hours of sleep since 10 o'clock yesterday morning. I have been going nonstop, it feels like. I started the new position at my job. And then once I started, I only did it for like 3 or 4 days, going out with another guy who's already doing that position to learn how to do it. And we had the tech that I trained last month turned in his truck, which he did that on the Sunday before I left to go to the beach. So the boss texted me, or the boss is like, Dave, I'm going to have you fill in his route until we get the other new guy going, because the other new guy started on the Monday that before I went to the beach. So I only worked Monday and Tuesday that week, and then I went back down. So, yeah, we had a new guy start, but he's got like 5 years experience. So he was able to test out of training after he took the company part of the training, like the company policies and that kind of stuff, company information training part. Once he took that part, he was able to test out on the pest control part and be able to come over, he has to still be trained a little bit in the field the way we do things. But, for the most part, he's going to take over the route, and then I can go back doing the other job. Maybe that'll last for a little while before somebody else will quit. I don't know. Oh, Dreamer, it went great. Okay, so let's start off with the first Sunday that I missed was the week before I went to the beach the first time. And I just had way too much stuff around here to do to get everything ready. I had to get the car ready. This car is still kind of a work in progress. And it really doesn't have to be. Like, I could use it the way it was when I got it from the lot. I just had to clean it up and do a little bit of detailing on it. But, I mean, that's really all it really needed. But I'm a little bit extra when it comes to Uber. So, I've got a disco ball. Y'all have seen that in the video of the disco ball with the lights on the ceiling and the seats back in the back and the music going. Okay. So, y'all saw that. And I've got the under dash lights that are on the, light up the floor wells and the front. And there's another set of strips, light strips underneath the two front seats in the back. But now being in a van, it only lights up basically just beneath the backs or the front seats. So I've got those, and I decided I wanted to add a fog machine into the van. That's a project. I added a fog machine in. So that's what I was doing the week before I went down to the beach the first time. Spring break was for the students here. Let me look. Look at my calendar. The students' last day of classes was the 8th, actually the 7th for most of them. But you had some who were still here on the 8th because they had classes on Friday. But from the 8th until the 17th, they were gone for spring break. So what I did was on the 8th, when I got off of work, I drove down to the beach, down to Gulf Shores, Alabama. And that's about a 4-hour drive. So I got down there at like midnight. I actually did a few Uber rides that night. I think I made like $100 the first night. Not bad. Paul had secured a place for us to stay with a friend of his that lives down there for that one night. So we went to this guy's house for like one night. And then the next day, we could move into the condo. And we had a nice little condo down there. Paul, myself, and another driver, Mary Beth, all went in together on a condo. And it was a little beach house, basically, about 2 blocks off the beach. It was up on, up above the ground, built, like on stilts or on a platform, whatever. There was like a mother-in-law suite downstairs. And so that's Mary Beth took that because we figured it would be best that she has that in her own privacy because it had its own bedroom and shower and bathroom and coffee maker and everything down there. And that she could still come upstairs and use the full kitchen or whatever whenever she needed to. And so Paul and I stayed upstairs, and then she stayed down in the mother-in-law suite. And then we would kind of like vacation during the day and drive at night. So it was kind of a working vacation. I was getting PTO from work. So I went down Friday the 8th, and I came back that Sunday, the 10th. And I went to work Monday and Tuesday, the 11th and 12th. Then as soon as I got off work on the 12th, I drove back down there that night, Tuesday night, and stayed until the following Sunday. So stayed until last Sunday. No, it's got nothing to do with not people not liking the fog. Man, people love the fog. Oh my God, that was fun. Kids loved it. Everybody loved the fog machine. It added to the party experience. The problem is fog machines weren't really meant to be used the way I'm using them. They're meant to turn it on, hit the button to start it. It blows out fog for 30 seconds, and it takes a reheat period before it's ready to blow more fog out, right? Well, I'm not using it like that to where it's just a constant cycle. I'm just kind of hitting it for like 3 or 4 seconds because I can't do no more than that without filling the car up with fog. So I hit it and turn it on for like 3 or 4 seconds, get a nice little bit of haze in the car with the fog coming out and enough time for the kids to be able to see it and go, oh my God, he's got a fog machine. It's kind of cool. But they, It would take about 3 or 4 seconds. But the problem is you're not blowing all of that hot fog out. So the fog machine goes to heat up again after you run it, even for 5 seconds. What ended up happening was it tripped its own over temperature thing, which is just a little tiny thing that just mounts on the outside of the heater casing with 2 screws and has 2 little leads attached to it. And it's a thermal switch. And so basically it just tripped that thermal switch. Now you've got to, buy more to replace it. It takes 2 seconds to replace the thing once you get it. Problem is you can't just go anywhere and just buy one. You have to order them. So that's what's wrong. And so it's going to keep doing that because of the way I use it. I mean, if I was to actually blow out about 5-6 seconds of steam or fog for every single ride, then I wouldn't have a problem. But what was happening was I was blowing it out for 5 or 6 seconds, and then the next ride is so short, you're just like, I don't even have time to mess with it. Or this weekend was also a parents' weekend. And well, down the beach it wasn't, but some people just don't like it and whatever, and you can kind of judge which ones aren't going to like it, so you don't mess with it while they're in the car. But yeah, so I would go sometimes 2 or 3 rides without blowing out any fog, and that's what I needed to do, was blow out a little bit of fog every so often so it doesn't overheat. So I just got to remember to do that. So I got to order the parts and fix the fog machine. I got 2 fog machines now here that are both broke with the same problem, because when the first one broke, Amazon replaced it with the second one, and the second one did the same thing. So I know the problem with both of them now, so I'm going to get both of them fixed. I don't know which one I'm going to use permanently in the van, though. But the fog machine is so cool. Let me see if I have a video y'all can see of it. I know I've got a video of it. Oh. If I get my wheel of my chair off of my cord so I can plug my phone in. Hank. Hank just decided he wanted to just start playing with my cord. Oh man, I am so out of it today. I was looking for my gallery and I couldn't find it. Hank, no. I said no. Stop. You're clawing up my chair, buddy. A lot of pictures from the Pensacola Naval Air Station. I went to the Naval Air Museum there and spent the day last Friday. Not this past Friday, but Friday before that. Oh, there it is. It's under Messenger. Never mind. No, it's not. Huh. It's under SD card. Nope. Nope. I know I had it. Thought it was under camera. Oh, that's right. I didn't film it for Messenger. I thought, yeah, maybe I did. It should be in my Messenger files, but it's not there. I did have somebody puke all over the side of my van down at the beach. Very drunk girl. Very, very drunk girl. And she had the wherewithal to stick her head out the window Oh, that's right. I did it on a different app. Okay. Here we go. I don't know if you'll be able to hear it. Watch underneath that back seat there. And that's the fog machine in the car. Yeah, I'm okay, Dreamer. It's just been crazy busy. Because, yeah, I went down. I took that week. I took the one Sunday off because I needed to get a lot of stuff done in the car. I had, I was building a platform for that fog machine in the back. I had to build a chiller, which is kind of in pieces now because it didn't hold up. I kind of threw it together really fast and didn't make it to last, but I have the parts I need now to make that better and reinforce it a little bit better so it holds together. But it's just a fog chiller. It's a sealed, airtight kitchen container. It's like a 5.9 liter, I think. And I got some PVA, small sheets of PVA foam, yeah, it's PVA foam or EVA foam. I can't remember what it is. It's what people use for making cosplay stuff. Um, I cut those into strips about, I don't know, half-inch wide or inch wide or so, and then I glued them together, and then I glued the thicker strips. Now I glued them down into the bottom of the thing to create like channels in the bottom. And then I just take those like blue ice packs you can buy for like lunch boxes, the hard side ones that are like filled with liquid and they're plastic. Um, I got like 8 of those will fit inside that little thing if they're lined up inside those grooves. And then I have an input with PVC pipe coming in off of the fog machine. Um, so when the fog machine blows the fog, it blows it through the PVC and into the chiller. Of course, the chiller is sealed down airtight with the snapping lid. And then there's an output on the other side of it that goes into a vacuum cleaner hose, which then goes up underneath the back seat of the car. All of this is mounted in the trunk. And so that goes up under the back seat of the van. And then I took that one of those long, really long, wide uh, wet vac attachments that's like real narrow, kind of like funnels down from like a real wide thing. I took one of those and put that attachment on the end of the vacuum hose, and I zip tied that piece up under the back seat. So when I hit the button for the fog machine, it'll blow out a chilled fog that it will drop to the floor and spread across the floor evenly. But I had to build a platform back there to be able to hold the fog machine steady while I'm driving and hitting bumps and everything. And also the chiller, because the chiller has to sit back there steady too. It can't be just sliding around back in the trunk. So I had to build a little platform back there and find a way to secure those to it, which I found an easy way to do. They just naturally fit into little frames that I built on the platform. But before I could even do that, I had to install a 750-watt power inverter in the back of the car. So that means I had to run an extra red battery cable all the way from the front of the van to the back, through the fender, and then into the door, and then down through the wire channel that's basically the trim that is on the edge of all the doors. Like when you open the doors and you got trim there on the thing. Yeah, you pop that up and there's a wire channel down underneath there. And then you run the wire almost all the way down the length of the van in the wire channel. And then you have to go back inside the wall of the van with it and then come out on the back wall of the trunk. So I had to do all of that week before I went to the beach. And I finished it up. Finally, I finished it up I was later leaving here than I wanted to on Tuesday. Not Tuesday. Yeah, it was Tuesday. I was later leaving here on Tuesday than I wanted to go back down to the beach because that's what I was still working on that when I got off of work on Tuesday. I had to come home and do some more work on it, get the car washed, which ended up raining all night anyway, so it's not like getting the car washed meant anything. And I had to make sure I had everything I needed for 5 days at the beach, 5 days away from home. So yeah, I've been busy between that and then going to work every day and coming home and doing Uber now. Again, I did Uber this week last week I was at the beach. This week I did Thursday, Friday, and then last night. And let's see, Thursday night I drove until about 3 o'clock in the morning, came home, got about an hour and a half of sleep, got up and went to work Friday all day under a house in a 3-foot crawl space, moving concrete blocks around on your hands and knees. Did that for almost eight hours on Wednesday. Oh, actually I did it full 8 hours on Friday. As soon as I got off work, I came home, took a shower, jumped right in the van, and went and did Uber again until, I don't know, I want to say 3 or 4 Saturday morning. Came home, got a few hours nap, I think a couple hours anyway, and got up Saturday morning, did a lot of stuff I needed to do with getting the car ready for the next night and everything. And then I headed out driving last night, and I drove until 5 to 5:30, something like that this morning. Yep. See, I'm okay. I'm just kind of out of it, tired, worn out. But it was worth all of it. The amount of money I made at the beach made it far more than justified going there. Let's put it that way. And the money I made the week before that on Uber, the weekend that before I went to the beach, that was the last parents' weekend before spring break, and let's just say I made equal to, in 3 nights, equal to my average half-month paycheck at my job. And then the very next week, I went to the beach and made more than that. So in basically what amounts to 1 pay period at my regular job, I made double what I would make at my regular job in the same period of time. Not too bad. Cannot complain. Uber is doing me good. And that's why I went out to eat this evening, because I had a couple of errands to go run. I had to go buy a multimeter for helping troubleshoot these fog machines. And I had to get a soldering iron because, I've got to do some soldering. And that's what my degree is actually. I got a degree in electronics engineering. So, fixing electrical things, electronic things, home electronics, home appliances, stuff like that. Okay. Child's play. I used to do stereos, and then I worked at Motorola for a while. So, and I was actually troubleshooting the test benches at Motorola that they use to test the equipment that goes at the base of a cell tower. And I had to repair the test equipment that tested the actual equipment that went out in the field and provided basically the cell service that you enjoy. Hello, Koala Crafts. Terry. Sorry, I've got a message I needed to answer real quick. Yeah, I am just beat. I am wore down, and I got to go back to work tomorrow and back underneath that house again tomorrow. Spend another 8 hours crawling around on my hands and knees and slithering around on my belly while moving concrete blocks and chunks of concrete out from underneath of there, sliding them under a big piece of ductwork that runs down the middle of the house. It's only got about a foot of clearance above underneath of it. Passing those off to another guy who's like 6'3". So that's the reason why he's not in the back part of the house where all the debris is, because he's 6'3" and he can't get back there. So it's on me to bring all of those concrete blocks from all the back corners and everything forward to the halfway point of the house. Like if you were to split it in half lengthwise, there's a piece of duct that runs right down the middle of the house, like a big trunk line with like the flexible, almost like fiberglass insulation type ducts that go up to the vents that are in the floors of the house coming off of it. So think of a human skeleton with a rib cage, okay, for this piece that's running right down the middle of the house lengthwise. And it goes from one end of the house where it connects to the HVAC unit outside, and it comes all the way along the length of the house to about 3 feet from the far edge on the other end of the house. So it wouldn't be very effective to have, because you can only probably move one, maybe if you're lucky, 2 blocks. But at the same time, you're crawling in a space that only has 3 feet of clearance from the ground to the bottom of the floor joist. And that's a long trek around with just 1 or 2 cinder blocks to have to make that trek all the way back around again to get some more. So we've just been passing them underneath of that duct right there near where the entrance to the crawl space is. And I've been passing them underneath, and he'll take and throw them out the door. And then at the end of the night, we pick it all up and throw it in the back of a truck, all the garbage and debris and stuff we got out of there. Once we got all the debris out, then we can lay down sheets of poly underneath on top of the dirt to create a moisture barrier. And then we can grab our little sprayers, and we've got to spray the entire wooden underside of that house with fungus spray. So, yeah, we got a lot left to do because we got about half the debris moved on Friday in an 8-hour shift. So we're going to have to get a move on tomorrow and get the other half of the debris done, the poly laid, and the spraying done. And also, I do have some help now with keeping my place clean. Right now, it's not clean. It needs to be cleaned. However, I am hiring an old friend to come once a week and do my housekeeping for me. And the initial visit, I'm going to have them come 3 times in 1 week to help me get everything in ship shape, basically. And then they'll be coming once a week to do my housekeeping, like laundry, dishes, mop the floors, sweep the floors, vacuum, that kind of thing. Nothing like major or anything like that, but just keeping it clean from once we get it there, So yeah, it's not bad. Once a week, have an old friend coming in that I trust to be in the house, and they're going to be my housekeeper. So I'm, glad she offered that. Somebody at the beach, my first night down there, left a wedding ring in my van. It's a guy. It's a men's wedding ring. I sent a found item thing to every single rider I had that night, which is only 11. At the beach, you don't get a lot of rides, but they're long rides. So, like, you go from Gulf Shores, Alabama to Orange Beach is like a 30-minute ride. And everybody goes to Orange Beach because they want to go to Floribama, which is a bar / nightclub / restaurant / liquor store, all in one area right there, but it's in Florida. So you drive from Gulf Shores, Alabama through Orange Beach, and as soon as you come out of Orange Beach, you're at the Florida line. Right on the other side of the line, literally feet inside the line of Florida line, is Floribama. So that's where like everybody goes to hang out, is Floribama. And there's a place in Gulf Shores called The Hangout, which kind of stays busy a lot. It's like all ages during the day, and then after like 8:30 or 9 o'clock at night, it becomes 21 plus. And a lot of people party there. Gulf Shores is actually cracking down big time on spring break. They didn't want them there. They didn't want us there. Every Uber got stopped at least once for stupid bullshit. Like, I have in my windshield a little sign that I can flip over from Lyft to Uber if I wanted to. But it's a little LED light up sign. It just says Uber. And I'm sure you go to any city in America that's got Uber and you see one, that's how you're going to recognize it's an Uber, because there's a little light in the windshield that says Uber on it. And mine plugs into a USB port, and it's, it's an actual LED sign. It's not like one of those little like light up stickers like you see some of them have. It's an actually suction cups onto the windshield. And so I've been using one of those since 2019. And this cop pulls me over at the hangout. I just picked off some kids, and I'd kind of burped the spoke machine a little bit just to, get a reaction out of them. And I came around the back side of the building where you go to leave, and there was 2 cop cars parked right there on the side of the driveway, basically. And one of them was standing next to his vehicle, like leaning up against it, and he shined his flashlight in my windshield. I thought he was trying to let me know, hey, I'm here, don't hit me, because he was kind of close to the road and half in it and half out of it. So I didn't think nothing of it. And as soon as I got past him, he jumped back in the truck and flipped the lights on me and pulled me over. And he says, I pulled you over because of that sign in your windshield. You're not allowed to have that on public roadways. And I'm like, are you sure about that? He says, yeah, you're not allowed to have it on public roadways. You can turn it on when you pull up to, pick up your customers so they can find you. But as soon as they're in the car and you start on the main road, you got to turn it off. I'm like, who told you this? He says, that's the law. And I'm like, no. Said, I've had this thing in my car since 2019. And you're the very first person who's ever said anything about it. And where I drive here in Tuscaloosa, or I told him, where I drive up in Tuscaloosa, the cops are sitting in the center turn lane at the strip in front of the bars, nose to tail in their vehicles. And I go by them all night long with that sign. And so does every other Uber driver in town has one. And they go by all those cops. Not a single one of them has ever been pulled over for this. And he says, well, I'm just telling you, you need to turn it over. You need to turn it off. And he said, by the way, that thing, that party light, yeah, it's a great vibe, but it's flashing red and blue all outside here everywhere. You gotta turn that off too, man. And the smoke machine's a bit much. And I'm like, he'd chuckle when he said that part. But state law actually says that as long as that light in my windshield is not blue or red and it's a solid color and not changing colors, it's perfectly legal to be there. That cop don't know what he's talking about. But they were pulling every Uber driver over for stupid crap that just didn't exist and there isn't in the law. They're just trying to chase us out of town. They're trying to harass us to get us to leave town. The kids I had in the car, when it happened, they were just as upset with him then. And they didn't hold it against me. And they said, yeah, it's okay because the cops the other last night just walked right in our house and started searching through our house and searching through our stuff without a warning, without permission, no nothing. They don't want spring break in Gulf Shores, Alabama. Orange Beach don't give a shit. Orange Beach did not care. You could speed through Orange Beach and the cops weren't going to pull you over. But you don't dare go 36 and a 35 in Gulf Shores. And don't dare have an Uber light in your windshield. Oh, Floribama, Sherry. Yeah. I did a lot of drop-offs at Floribama. Problem is you can't pick them up there because it's in Florida. And I'm an Alabama driver. So Alabama drivers can't drive in Florida. So we can't do pickups in Florida. So I would tell all my riders, hey, here's my number. You're not going to be able to get a ride out of there because it won't ping anybody because everybody down here that's driving is an Alabama driver and you're standing in Florida when you're trying to request it. So here's my number. Give me a half hour advance notice when you're ready to leave and I'll come get you and I'll charge you X amount in cash to take you back to where you went. And made pretty good chunk of change doing that. I would say I made a pretty good chunk of change doing that. So yeah, it's that was kind of my whole 2 weeks now. Like I said, I started the new position the week before I went down the first time to the beach. So the week before I went down from Friday to Sunday, I started the new position that week. And then when I came back to work on Monday after being down at the beach for the weekend, the first thing in the morning, the boss says, hey, dude just left his truck parked out front, half in the road and half out. He quit. And I was like, great. I see my 3 days of PTO just creeping away, right? He says, no. He said, it'd be great if you did stay here, but no, you can still take your PTO, but you're going to take over that route until we get the other new guy tested out in 2 weeks. And I'm like, oh, great. Wonderful. I thought I was done with pest control. I guess not. I mean, I don't really want to be doing the poly jobs like we're doing, moisture jobs we're doing right now, but mainly my regular job would just be get out of the truck, knock on the door, tell the customer I'm there to do their home evaluation for their yearly renewal of their Centricon service, and then inspect the inside of the house for termites or signs of termites or activity. And then I go outside and do the same thing around the outside. And then I crawl through the crawl space, take 4 moisture readings, and then I go make a graph or a chart or, basically a picture of the house from above on a piece of graph paper. And I fill out some more things, get the customer sign, and I leave. Really easy job, really. Other than crawling crawl spaces, but it's not hard. If you're just crawling to do moisture readings and write the date on the joist where you took the reading from, that's nothing. It's when you got to get under there and actually do productive work under the crawl space. That sucks. Especially back when the house got hit by a car in 2017, it took out almost all the pipes and things there too as well. And where the car hit, it also damaged the main bathroom drain line. So, of course, there was sewage issues underneath the house in 2017. Problem is, all of that is soaked into the soil underneath that house, and that soil don't get moved around like soil out here does. And so just more dust had collected on top of it to form more and more and more soil. But there was a layer of just sewage encrusted dirt down there. And we start moving, like we had a whole piece of poly that had some concrete on it and everything. We said, well, let's move that all out at one time. And as soon as you start yanking it and it kicks up that dust, and then you get that sewer dust, and I was down there dry heaving under the house. That was nasty. So needless to say, I came home and I hopped right in the shower. I mean, right in the door, out of the clothes and into the shower, like no time wasted whatsoever on Friday night. Yeah, Floribama. I need to go back down to the beach and spend some time down there, not trying to make money. Maybe take a day off or a night off from making money when I go down there. And I can just go to Floribama and hang out and take it all in, go to hang out and see that, I do know that I think in May, there's a big music festival on the beach in Gulf Shores called the Hangout Fest. Paul and I are talking about going back down and driving for Hangout Fest. It's just a weekend in May. Talking about going back down and just spending the weekend down there driving for Hangout Fest, because that ought to be some really good money. Floribama has they host the annual, what kind of fish is the name of it? Is the name of the fish? I can't remember. But it's basically a fish throwing competition. You can go sign up and you just see who can throw a fish the farthest. And y'all notice I'm not even uncovering this thing and working on it, because my eyeballs, even though I got my glasses on right now, are like kind of just swimming. Because I'm just that tired. But yeah, I had some errands to go run, and so I went and did that, and I wanted to grab something to eat. So you know what? I said, I've earned it. With as much as I've done in the past 3 weeks, I have earned a good steak dinner. So I went to Outback tonight and had a good steak dinner with some grilled shrimp, big baked potato, Caesar salad. Oh, still good. One of your motorcycle trips, you spent a few days there. Yeah. Orange Beach is beautiful. Gulf Shores is actually beautiful. Gulf Shores is a little more ghetto than Orange Beach. I'm not going to say ghetto in the sense of like, it's not like you're driving through the hood, but ghetto in the sense of it's a little more run down. It's not as there's condos and stuff there, but not like Orange Beach has all along the beach. Um, Gulf Shores is more of a family slash retirement community that just happens to be at the beach. Where Orange Beach is a resort town. I mean, it's plain out just it's there to cater to people getting condos on the beach, and it's got more nightlife, more nightclubs, more places and things to do. Gulf Shores has it all, but it's all like north of the beach, where with um, Orange Beach, it's all right along the main coastal highway that you travel up and down to get from one end to the other. I miss it already. I miss the beach. I miss that condo. That was a nice little condo. Let me see. I got pictures of it here. I'll show you pictures of our condo we stayed at. Camera. Scroll past all of the Naval Air Museum. Yeah, there it is. Let's see if I flip it over. There we go. That is the condo we stayed at. There's a nice little house there on the beach. There's a Paul's Expedition and my van, and Mary Beth's car is parked under the carport in front of my van. And then this was the main living room inside the condo, living and dining area. We had a balcony out on the front with that sliding glass door. And then we had a full kitchen that we ended up going and buying a bunch of stuff because we needed it there, like food and supplies and stuff. And it had all the pots and pans, all the dishes. And in the closet, there was like an air fryer and a deep fryer and a blender and all other kind of like plug-in appliances and stuff, toaster ovens and stuff. So they stocked this thing up for you really well. In the backside, there was 2 kayaks that you could take out and a couple of bikes. Um, it was a really nice little condo. Had a fire pit on the balcony and then had another one out, had a big fire ring out back in the backyard. I got a picture of that as well. But now there was a master bedroom that Paul slept in, and then I slept in, there was a bunk room. A second bedroom was turned into a bunk room, and then I slept in the bunk room. Let me see if I have a picture of the backyard. I know I thought I did. Maybe I don't. Yes, I do. There it is. Yeah. And that was that was the view out the back. There's like a fire pit down there in the middle on the left there, bottom left. And then there was a canal and a lagoon that was right there behind us. But then, yeah, that Friday before I left, we left. We had to check out on Saturday. Um, yeah, we had to check out of the condo on Saturday morning, And so what we planned was we were going to drive Saturday because, it was going to be the last night of spring break for a lot of those kids and stuff. And there was actually a new shift coming in. What happened was a bunch of schools went to spring break the week before we went down there. There was a lot of schools, and there was an influx of kids from those schools going there. And then those kids left the weekend that we went down first. And that was Alabama, LSU, uh, Tennessee, Arkansas, Texas Tech, Texas A&M. Um, there was like 13 schools that all took spring break at the same time as Alabama. So kids from all those schools were down there the week we were there. And then the following week, and like the last Saturday we were there, of course, we checked out of the motel at in the morning, and I had all my stuff packed in my trunk of my car, and I did Uber all afternoon until like 3 o'clock in the morning. And then Paul, when he quit driving about the same time I did, he went back to that buddy's house that we'd stayed at the very first Friday night. And I couldn't stay there. So I just started driving home last Sunday. And I got home. Well, I started driving home last Sunday morning. It's a 4 hour drive. I drove about 2 hours. I stopped in a rest area and I fell asleep. And I meant to only sleep like an hour or two and ended up sleeping like until like 10 o'clock in the morning. Um, Drove the last 2 hours home on Sunday, got home at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And I didn't even get my car unloaded. I came inside, I fed the cats, I sat down in the chair, and I passed out until 11 o'clock at night. Um, Woke up, went out, got the cats their, GOOD, FOOD. And then I went out and unloaded the car at 11 o'clock at night, came back in the house and passed out again until my alarm went off at 5:45 for work the next morning. So last Sunday, I was asleep. Hank, Hank, Hank. Oh, but while I was in Florida, I found out that they sell something in Florida. It's one of the 3 or 4 states that you can buy it in. Hold up. I stocked up while I was down there. Yes, this one has some missing. I've only done 2 shots of it, though. That's it, just 2 shots. But they sell it in Florida, right there in Pensacola. So when I went over to the Naval Air Museum on my way back to Gulf Shores to start driving for that night, I stopped and picked up a couple bottles, and took them back with me, and brought them home because I either have to order it online and pay 80 some dollars, or I've got to find somewhere that it's sold. And you can do a store locator. The problem is there's only stores in like 3 or 4 states that sell it. So I got lucky in this sense, and I was right there where they sell it. So I picked some up. I love Pensacola. It's beautiful. Did I was only there for a day. I only went over to Pensacola for that one day. And I didn't really do a lot of sightseeing or anything. I just went straight to the Naval Air. Well, I had to take another Uber driver who had a wreck while he was down there. I had to take him over to the Pensacola airport and drop him off to pick up a rental car. And then I went on to the Naval Air Museum from there, and I spent the whole day at the Naval Air Museum. I thought I was going to I was there when I was like 12, and it wasn't that big, and it didn't take that long to go through it. I told Paul, I was like, I won't be there long. It's probably a couple hours, 3 hours at the most. Nope, I was there until just before they closed. There is so much more to see in there now. But then again, I went when I was 12, so that would have made it like, 30 some years ago. Yeah, I went to in Pensacola, there's a store called Wine and Liquor something or other. Um it's right over by it's over it's over near the airport somewhere, I think. I know right down the road there's a Walmart neighborhood market that sells it too. But the Walmart neighborhood market I went into and looked at it, it was expensive. It had one price online if you buy it online and then go pick it up in the store. It was cheaper if you bought it online and then went to go pick it up in the store than it was if you went to the store and just bought it off the shelf, which didn't make any damn sense to me. Yeah, that was so cool. I spent the day there. I saw an old friend. I had a reunion with an old friend that I hadn't seen in 31 years. I will show you a picture of our reunion. Well, I'm not in the picture. I took the picture. But I traced the BU number. Hold on. I traced the BU number of that F-14 back to the squadron that I was in when I was in the Navy. And it was in the same squadron as me at the same time. So likely, I've crawled on that plane. I've opened up panels and I've sat in the cockpit of that plane. I've taken electronics boxes out of it and replaced them with fresh ones. Um, that's an old friend I hadn't seen in 31 years. That plane is also, it was assembled in November of 1980. It was last deployed on 01 September 2005 to 11 March of 2006. It did 224 missions, and it flew the last combat mission that an F-14 ever flew on 1st of February 2006, and its last flight was on 13th of April 2006. And this F-18, that F-18 right there, was one of the two F-18s that shot down two Iraqi MiGs during the first Gulf War. And then right next to that F-14, they actually had an Iraqi MiG exactly like the one that F-18 had shot down. That is so cool. Of course, they had an Apollo space capsule there. The one astronaut, can't remember his name, but he donated a lot of his stuff. Gene Cernan. Gene Cernan was a naval aviator, and he was the last man to walk on the moon. And he's been to the moon twice, once by walking on it and once flying around it on Apollo 10. The mission before Neil Armstrong stepped foot on the moon. Gene Cernan went up and flew around the moon, and then they flew the lunar module almost like they flew it like within like 2 nautical miles of the, or 8 nautical miles of the surface, and then came back up to the command module and linked up and came home, just to prove that the lander would actually fly on its own down there in moon's gravity or whatever. They never actually landed. They never stepped foot, but that paved the way for Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin to be the first ones to walk on the moon. And then Gene Cernan closed out the Apollo program by being the last man to walk on the moon. And so now a lot of his stuff is in Naval Aviators Museum. He's like a big donator to it and like a big supporter of it and everything. And while I was there, I got to see something that I almost felt honored that I got to watch. They had a wing pinning ceremony for 21 new fresh naval aviators just out of flight school getting their wings. I got to watch them basically graduate flight school and get their wings. And I don't know if I've really ever described it in detail before, but my dream since I was kindergarten, first grade, was to become a fighter pilot and then an astronaut. And it was a dream that I never got to achieve. So it's a dream I did not succeed at, but it was so cool being able to watch these young people get their wings and, graduate flight school and achieve something that I couldn't. They achieved my dream. And it was so neat because they would go up across the stage and get the little thing like you get for your diploma when you graduate high school or college. And they get to shake all of the big wigs' hands, all the brass and stuff are there. But then as they get off the stage and get off to the other side, their mother walks up. Either their mother or their wife will walk up on the stage and pin their wings on for them. And that was a little emotional to watch. They're I don't know, Bella. They weren't when I was there. Uh, but their show schedule started in March. So, um, just depends on how far away they go as to whether they come back to um, Pensacola or go to El Centro. Just depends on where they're at. If they're on an East Coast swing, then chances are they'll come back to Pensacola every weekend. Or, well, they'll come back every Sunday night or Monday morning. And then they'll practice there throughout the week until like Thursday. Or, yeah, till like Wednesday night or Thursday. And then they'll fly out and go to the next show and then leave there when the show is over and fly back. I got to see their hangar, and they have a couple of their spare planes that don't fly with them from show to show. They've got a couple of them sitting out there in the it's like a covered parking area for airplanes, and I got to see those. But of course, the main atrium at the museum is just spectacular. That's where they did the pinning ceremony there. But I can see why they did it there because that is just amazing to see. Let me find the picture. I know I took a picture there. Did I do it from Messenger? No. It's under camera. Oh, there it is. Okay. That's the main atrium. I'm standing at the back of it. There's 4 full-size Blue Angels A4 Skyhawks that they flew back in the 80s. Hanging from the ceiling in the diamond formation, and those planes are actually as close together as they fly in real life when they fly their diamond formation. So you get a really good idea from up close of how close those planes are flying together when they're doing their show. And then later on, after the pinning ceremony was over, you could go up on there's a balcony all the way around the top there, that you can get up close and personal with the planes, and I got pictures of that too. But that was the pinning ceremony there. You can kind of see they hadn't started yet. Well, they had, but it was like some guy over here on the side. Like you can see him over there on the side by the window talking on a podium. But they did the main thing right up there on the stage up there. But then there's the planes up above. And then I got another picture of them like that. Well, flip it, tap it. There we go. And they look like they're kind of in a dive. Like the lead plane is pointing downward, and all three of them are like pointing down at the same angle he is, like right behind him, beside him. Yeah, after it was over and you could go up on the balcony, I got some pictures from up there too. And there's a head-on shot looking straight up the nose of the lead plane. They're flying wingtip to wingtip 36 inches apart. And then there's a view from the side of them hanging in the position they're hanging in. Hi, Diane. Overall, that was a really, really neat experience going through there. I remember it as a kid, but I guess as a kid, you just can't appreciate it as much. Even though that's your dream to one day fly those things or whatever, you don't really understand the history of all of each individual plane that's in there and why that plane, that specific aircraft, airframe, is so important. Like they had this like giant plane. It was like a giant seaplane. It looked like they actually called it a flying boat. The whole bottom of it looked like a boat, and it was just like a little cockpit up in the front with two steering wheels on it. And then it had these like two giant long wings on either side, like a biplane. And there was a whole display on the ground about that specific plane. That was the first naval aircraft to fly across the Atlantic. And there's like a whole thing in there that shows you all the stops it made along the way, all the trouble it had along the way. It sank like twice. It landed for, fuel or whatever and sank like twice. They had to repair all kinds of stuff on it. It was a mess. They barely almost didn't make it. So they've got that big plane in there. They've got a copy of an inert copy, a dummy version of the bomb that was dropped in Hiroshima. And they've just got like all kinds of historic ones. Like the plane, I think one of the A4 Corsairs they have is actually the one that was actually flown by the guy that started the famous Black Sheep Squadron, which eventually had a TV show based on it. And then they had this really cool aircraft carrier model. I mean, it's bigger than the one that I'm wanting to build that I have here at the house. I got that one that's like 3 feet long and it's kind of detailed, really detailed. And I got a lot of extra detail parts for it. But they had an aircraft carrier model enclosed in like a glass case that you could walk all the way around it. And it looked like you just stepped right back into being on a carrier. The detail in that thing is absolutely amazing. And in the hangar bay, had lights in it you could turn on by pushing a button on the outside, and you could see the planes in the hangar bay. And those colors of the lights are even realistic to what color the lights were in the hangar bay on the carrier. And this one was the USS Enterprise model. Now, to give you an idea of scale, those planes were at least 1/72nd scale planes. So this guy had gone, and whoever built this model had built the carrier itself, all of that detail, painted it, weathered it. It looks like you just took a carrier out of the water, put it through the Honey I Shrunk the Kids shrink machine, and stuck it in a glass box. I mean, it looks that realistic. And but every one of those planes that are on the deck and everything else are 1/72nd scale models, or at least 1/72nd. It might be 1/48th, but I don't think they were that big. They all had to. He had to build all of those separate models and paint them and weather them and decal them to match the air wing that was on the Enterprise at the time that that Enterprise is depicted. So it's like, this guy, man, he must have spent half of his life working on this one model. Just amazing detail on it. It's kind of weird. It looks really odd on this one because there's an airplane actually hanging from the ceiling behind it, kind of. But there, I'm looking down the flight deck of this aircraft carrier, and you can see that big plane in the background, just dwarfing everything. It just kind of looks kind of surreal there. But I mean, if you look really close on these, like on the white lines on the deck, let me see if I can get it. You can see the dirt. Like he actually included all the dirt. And everything. I mean, it looks so real. The coloring on the dirt and everything is even like it's supposed to be. Um, there's a shot of the plane on the launch catapult. And there's the model as you walk up to it. And of course, there is Gene Cernan's Apollo capsule that he went to the moon in. And then he flew the lunar module down to the surface. Actually, he was the commander of that mission. So, yeah, he's the one that actually flew the lunar module, even though the lunar module pilot, the LMP, doesn't actually fly the lunar module. The commander does. That was weird. That's the way they did things in the 60s, I guess. I don't know. But that was the actual command module. So that was the part that stayed up in orbit around the moon, and with one guy in it while the other two went down to the surface. And those guys down on the surface walked around, took collection samples, played around, did funny things. You know, all the videos out there of all the weird stuff they did up there on the moon. And then those two got back in the lunar module and jetted on back up to the command module that was orbiting around, this little gumdrop looking thing. And they strapped in for the ride back home in it. And there's a good picture I got of through the hatch looking inside of the seats that they sat in, or seats that they were laying in, I should say. Which they could stow those seats after they got into space. They could stow all those seats and the brackets holding them up and everything, and it gave them a whole lot of space inside that capsule to move around and stuff. Because if you look closely in this one, you can kind of see how the seats are down below the door level, and they could just fold those down and stow them away, and it opened up that whole uh, interior of that whole thing. And there's that big boat plane that was the first Navy aircraft to fly across the Atlantic. It's kind of like the centerpiece of that hangar. And it was just a nice, interesting walk through the history of naval aviation. From the early, each hangar or each section or each hangar room or whatever was a different era of naval aviation. So you had the early area when you first come in, you come into the early era, and if you just followed around kind of in like a counterclockwise motion, you go all the way through the entire thing from its inception back around World War I with biplanes and stuff like that into World War II, and then into Korea, Vietnam era, the 80s, and then the current era, 90s and 2000s. So you just basically make a big loop around two different hangars that takes you to all of these eras. But while you're there, there's also a little like deli restaurant, and there are so many actual cruise plaques on the wall from all these different squadrons and divisions from the Navy, from different cruises they had been on that were donated to the museum. Because every cruise, your division makes a plaque that looks like a patch or whatever. It's got it's got your imagery of from your division in it. And I went around there and I found all of these cruise plaques from the squadron I was in. That was the 1983 Around the World cruise on the Carl Vinson. The Sundowners went on. Fighter Squadron 111. And then there is Westpac 1990. So that was the last Westpac it did before I joined the squadron. And those are all of the pilots and commanding officers and stuff. Those are all the officers. That's the air crew. It's got our company patches, or our division, our squadron patches are the Sundowners logo there with the two planes, but it's also that little triangle guy named Omar. Omar, there's a legend behind Omar. All of the people that were in the squadron are considered sons of Omar. So there was like all of those wooden plaques with, from the squadron I was in that were in there. It's kind of neat. It was just a really good day. Had a moment with my old friend there from 31 years ago. We had a moment, I mean, because you could walk right up to it and touch it and rub your hand down the leading edge of the wing and stuff like that. And it was just like, it just took you right back to that time when I was there doing that. And didn't take much. That trip right there made the whole trip down to the beach worth it. Not counting the, more than the equivalent of a full half-month paycheck or a full half-month paycheck in 1 week, you know. And I got to go to Buc-ee's while I was there too, so that's a plus. I got some beaver nuggets, and I got me a Buc-ee's tumbler here somewhere for drinking coffee out of. And of course, got my blackened whiskey from Florida while I was over there. And now here lately, I have been on a kick to try to find the most sour candy I can find. It's a toss-up for me. You've either got the Warheads Extreme Sour Hard Candy, or you got this stuff here. This stuff here, actually, after 2 of them, your mouth feels like it's burnt on the inside. It is so sour. It's good, but it's really sour. I don't know why I'm on this like kick to find all this sour candy all of a sudden, but it's just little pieces of hard candy. You would never suspect it to be that sour. And that isn't even the most sour toxic waste you can get. Toxic waste also has a I cannot remember. There's a version of it you can get that's even more sour. This black cherry one is really good. If I can just get it out of the package. There it goes. It just looks like an unassuming piece of hard candy until you put it in your mouth and realize that that shiny outer shell is all malic acid. Now, I know when I was going to get my dentures done, there was a thing on the wall that was showing the acidity level of sour candies, different types of sour candies. You know, basically warning kids, stop eating these things. It's tearing up it's eating your teeth away. Warheads actually have the same acidity level as battery acid. But they taste so good. I guess if you call it that. It's so sour it actually kind of stings the inside of your mouth. Now, eventually that coating goes away, and then it's just a regular black cherry hard candy till you get to the middle. On this toxic waste, the middle has another center core of just the stuff that made it sour to begin with some cherry flavoring or whatever flavoring of the candy it is mixed in with it. Really strong stuff. Oh, I got some Girl Scout cookies. I forgot I even had those. I got some Girl Scout cookies. Gotta get the Thin Mints. I don't care. Thin Mints are the number one box to grab when you get there. If they got them out on the table, you grab the Thin Mints. I have never tried the Toffee-tastic ones. But I like toffee and I like buttery cookies. I don't like those trefoils. Those things are nasty. There's nothing to them. They're like baby crackers that you give a baby in church, you know, to keep them satisfied when they're teething. And these adventurefuls I've never had before either. They look really good. Indulgent brownie-inspired cookies with caramel-flavored cream and a hint of sea salt. I love Girl Scout cookie time. I always try to buy some. It helps them out. It helps teach those girls about, you know, financial responsibility and handling money and running a business. In Boy Scouts, we didn't learn that. We learned how to fish. We learned how to build survival huts. We learned how to build little cars that you just added some extra weight to and then ran them down a vertical ramp and see who went farthest or who got their bottom fastest or whatever it was. The Pinewood Derby. You had a patch for everything. Oh, I got my bowling patch this week. We went bowling last weekend as a group and got our bowling patches while we were there. No, I don't know that. I don't have a bowling patch. But while I was at the museum, I did go through the gift shop and pick myself up a little something. Had to do that. There is the front. Well, there's the front with the Blue Angels logo in the planes, like a silhouette of them. And in the back, it's business in the front, party in the back, y'all. Yeah, the back is really cool. I love that shirt. My camera is weird. There we go. Now you can see it. Almost the whole thing. I went to the store yesterday. I got me 4 new pairs of jeans because I guess I must have lost a lot of weight because none of the jeans I have now fit me. When I got them, they did. But now it's like I'm walking around just constantly grabbing the belt loops and pulling them up every other step. Even the ones that kind of fit tight perfectly are now loose. So I've gone down a waist size. I was at a 30-32 and now I'm down to a 29-32, which is where I was in high school. But they're really comfortable jeans. I'm wearing a pair right now. You're not ready for that sour center. Because it's got that great taste in black cherry candy. And you get down to that center and it gets in your eye. You're like, oh, I forgot there was something sour in this candy. Oh, where's my other phone? There's my phone. I meant to show you my setup in the back, how I did it. There it is. There's the trunk of my van. You got the smoke machine right there. And then that's the chiller. Now, I don't have the ice packs in it right there, but that chiller has a piece of PVC that you can't see because the screen is so bright. But there's a piece of PVC there leading out to that black vacuum cleaner hose that leads up under the back seat. There it is. Well, there you go. Hey, flip around there, doofus. Yeah, there you can see it now there. So yeah, that's and for those that weren't here, earlier, I will replay the video. So yeah, there's the fog machine in action. Neither one of them work now, so I've got to get both of them fixed. I've just got to order the small part from Amazon. It should be here by the end of the week, and I'll be back in action. I can actually buy one of those that instead of just tripping once and you have to throw away, I can buy one that you can manually reset just by pushing the bottom button on it, and it undoes it like a circuit breaker. And that way I don't have to keep replacing them over and over again. This is there's the first one. And then there is what's inside the second one. That's what this one looks like inside. Well, this one looks a little different inside because it's got a few different features than this one does. But this is a 500 watt and that one's a 400 watt. The one that I've got apart right now. The 400 watt actually puts out more smoke. Funny story. The day I got the 500 watt one, Paul was here at the house. He was getting ready to leave to go down to the beach. It was the night before we drove that night here. And then he left right after we got done driving. He started heading down to the beach. Well, that night is when that afternoon is when the smoke machine came by from Amazon. So it was sitting at the door when I got home from work. And it came with it. I bought about a gallon of fog fluid, which is going to last forever. And it's high density, and it's supposed to be low lying. It's made specifically for low lying, which it's because it's already so dense, it kind of naturally wants to sink. But then when you chill it and run it through a chiller, it doesn't have any choice but to sink because it, chilling it makes it even more dense. Well, what happened was I let that thing run here inside the house, and I ran it through about 4 or 5 cycles, complete 30-second cycles. And it did go down to the floor like it was supposed to and creep down the hallway and into the bedroom. And before you know it, you can't even see down the hallway anymore and into the bedroom. You couldn't see from the living room into the kitchen. You couldn't even see across the living room. It was so fogged up in this apartment. Even the doors that were closed, like Paul was back in his bedroom with the door closed, and you open up that door and it was just as thick in the bedroom that had been closed off because it had gotten in under the door. Paul and I left and went and got something to eat and ran a couple of errands and came back 2 hours later, and it was still so thick you could barely see across the living room. That stuff hung in the air forever. We ended up having to turn the AC on just to get it to clear out the house. Bev, I am good. I'm sorry I didn't get to you sooner there. I am good. I'll give you a hint is on Facebook, go to my community tab on my channel. That's where I keep everybody updated with everything. I always will update there before I'll update Facebook or anything else. So always check that community tab. If you don't see an announce or a scheduled live by say 6 or 7, go check that community tab because chances are I probably already made a post that said I'm not going to be live. I left a post there 3 Fridays ago or 3 Sundays ago that, I wasn't going to be live that night. And because I had things I had to do to get ready to go to the beach. And then I wasn't going to be at home the next Sunday night to be able to do a live. And then last week on Sunday, I was, I guess I could say I was having a recovery day from, driving all night, doing Uber down there, and then trying to drive home right afterwards. So I did get home early enough to do a live last Sunday, but I slept right through it. I was beat. I am really beat right now too. I'll be honest with you. I'm sitting here talking to y'all with my eyes closed, okay? But that's partially because I had a big dinner at Outback. So, but yeah, this is the internal workings of a fog machine. What you have is the fluid reservoir that you put the fog juice in. Okay, this board here, I'm not exactly sure what all it's for. Okay, it's got some stuff on it. Most of these big wires are all main power wires that come in from the main power. Your pump is right here. Your heater block is right here. That's really the main 2 parts of the whole thing. Your pump and your heater block. The heater block, basically this little silver tube that runs out of this right here. This silver tube runs up and into the heater block. But what all the heater block is just like a big thing that he gets hot. But that tubing runs right around the heating elements and it wraps around it like a coil so that it heats up the fluid that's in that tube. Once it gets to a certain temperature, this little thing here actually mounts. Okay. This mounts right here like that. And then this little thing here mounts right there like that. That little round thing you see there. See, it mounts right there like that. And what that is that's your thermal switch. So what happens is, what's supposed to happen anyway, is this gets hot. It gets to a certain temperature. This right here is set to change state to go from like an open switch to a closed switch, turn switch on, turn switch off. It's usually supposed to self reset once this cools back down. So once this gets up to 130 degrees Celsius, which is about the proper temperature for, turning vegetable glycerin into steam. As soon as it does that, this switch here opens up and then allows the connection from the remote control or the button on the back here to fire the pump. And then the pump then sucks out of here, blows it through the heater, and it superheats it while it's going through there, and it comes out when it hits the cooler air outside. It turns into a visible vapor that you can see. Yeah, I'm all good, Bev. I'm just really, really tired from 3 straight busy weeks in a row. And this weekend hadn't been any kind of rest here either. I mean, we've been driving all weekend. So doing Uber. And so yeah, I'm just kind of worn out, and I've got to go back to work tomorrow, and I don't really feel like it, but I got to. I was supposed to go to work Saturday because the boss had everything going on. I was supposed to work this Saturday, and I told the boss that I was going to work this past Saturday. But I didn't have control over the scheduling of mine. I kind of did, but I didn't. They just handed me a paper and said, "Here you go, start scheduling these. That's your stops for this, rest of this month." I'm like, okay. Well, one of the girls in the office took it on herself to do all the scheduling, and help me out with it, because they never actually switched the stops that the guy who quit had. They never unassigned them from him and assigned them to me. So I couldn't see them in my app on the phone, which I use to schedule. So I could call them. I could see their information and everything. I could look them up by, account number, whatever. And I could call them from there. But if they'd said, yeah, okay, go ahead, sign me up for like Tuesday at 3:00, I had no way of being able to go do that. So the boss was like, yeah, just give me a call and I'll put them on you when you get them changed over. But in the meantime, one of the other girls kind of was trying to help me out, I guess, and just, took it on herself and took the list and started going through it and calling everybody. And by Thursday, she had handed me a sheet that only had about like 10, 15 stops on it. She goes, "That's all you got left to, do this week or this month." And that was it. I didn't even get a chance to call them, because I don't know why. But I got up to go. Well, I actually looked at my phone on Friday night. I'm like, I wonder where I'm going Saturday to work. And my whole day was blank. But all of the stops that were on those sheets of paper are now scheduled for next week. So I'm guessing she just didn't schedule me any for Sunday and went ahead and scheduled the whole appointment book out to the end of next week. So there's really not much I could have done yesterday anyway if I did work. That just kind of sucks because it was 5 Mondays in March. The corporate said we had that every tech had to work, a Sunday this month or a Saturday this month. Normally we only work on Saturdays if our route isn't at a certain percentage by the end of the week on Friday. Then we have to work Saturday. But this time around, it was just handed down from on high. Oh, the fur babies are good. Ari is just coming out of heat again, so I'm about to go get her fixed, I think, now. I've got the money for it. It's only $159 to get her rabies shots and get her fixed. So they will not fix her without her having the rabies shot first. It's like I told him, I was like, she's never been outside. Like in her entire life, she has never been outside other than being carried from the car into the house. They're like, yeah, but she's still got to have her rabies shots before we can do any kind of surgery on her. I'm like, okay. It's $159. So I'm going to go get that done as soon as she is fully out of heat. Oh, Hank over here. My desk is a mess. Excuse the mess. There's old Hank right there, curled up in Paul's chair. And on top of the new jeans I just bought that are still in a Walmart bag. You know what, Bev? I have watched only one race, and that was Daytona. I have not watched another race since because they just haven't been around to do it. And Sunday, it's becoming where Sunday is the only day of the week. Well, unless I don't have to work Saturday, but Sunday actually is the only day of the week that I really have to do anything. I mean, Saturdays have begun lately that it's starting to kick off here in town around 11, 12 o'clock in the afternoon or in the morning. So I don't get Saturdays to do much. So Sundays, I'm trying to fit in all the things that I need to do around here. And watching a race isn't really a priority because most of the time the things I got to do are away from home. So, and I have limited time to do that in because everything closes early on Sundays. And what was the other one? Because Saturday night I end up driving until like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. I don't wake up sometimes until 11, 12 o'clock on Sunday. So I cut myself, 6 hours short because sleeping. So I just haven't had a chance to watch any races. I kind of had it on today for a little bit, but I had to run and go do some errands, and that was that. And then I went to Outback and had dinner, which made me late getting here. And take them glasses off. Oh, where is my kratom at? Oh, there it is. Let's at least keep my eyes open. When I get done with this live, I'm going to push the mic out the way, move the camera back down out the way, and I'm going to pull out the little footrest on my chair and recline the chair back. And I'm going to get my little kitty cat blanket that I got. I got a kitty cat blanket while I was down there because I didn't have a blanket and a pillow when I got down to the beach. Well, they were on the bed, but I didn't want to use theirs. So, but that first night I didn't have anything because I was staying at one of Paul's buddies' houses with Paul, and I didn't have anything, so I had to stop at Walmart and buy a blanket and a pillow. And I found these like fleece blankets, like fleece cover-ups or pullovers or whatever they are. And one of them was like, it had like a purple background. It had a cat like the color of Hank, and he was like standing up on his hind legs and had his like paws up in front of him like a wizard, like he was casting a spell. And it had like a rainbow behind him, and it was really cool. So I bought that blanket, and that's what I use. That's what I use here at night when I'm sleeping in my chair. When your Vicodin is coming loose and you try to swish liquid around in your mouth that's got nasty dirt flavored powder carried with it. Powder gets all up under your dentures. Then it feels weird. So I hope y'all have had a great 3 weeks. I hope nothing, no bad misfortunes happened to anybody, or anything. It's been eventful for me. I'm glad that it's kind of winding down and getting back into a routine again, even though I missed the beach. Can't wait for Hangout Fest in May to go back down for a few days. There's going to be some good money made for that. The Hangout Fest is like this giant music festival, and they've got like some pretty big name headliners and stuff this year. It's mostly like dance and pop music. But it ought to be a pretty big money-making weekend. I'm making more smoke than my smoke machine. Which, by the way, this smoke machine uses the exact same thing that I vape. It uses the same fluid. Just doesn't have any flavoring or nicotine in it. So I thought about going to the vape shop and buying a couple of big bottles of the, flavored zero nicotine and putting that in here and running it through. That way it can like kind of be an air freshener at the same time as this fog machine. Yeah, SVG is in Xfinity series, which is a step below the Cup series. It's where, drivers go to basically cut their teeth in cars that are very similar to the Cup cars, but a little bit less horsepower. It's just for them to basically cut their teeth there, learn stock cars, because up until that point, they've been driving like stuff on dirt tracks and small little, Saturday night tracks. And then they got noticed and they got signed to a truck deal where they drive the NASCAR truck for, the truck series for a year or two. And then they move up to the Xfinity series for a year or two. And then they move up to Cup. All he's really doing is just right now is just basically learning this type of car. Yeah, he's in the Xfinity series, not the Cup series. They had a road course race today in the Cup series. Was COTA, Circuit of the Americas down in Texas. But I don't know if Xfinity ran COTA this week or not, too. That's how much it goes to show I've been paying any attention, to be honest. I almost forgot this morning there was a race on until it was already 5 laps from the end of stage 1. I was like, wow, okay. Oh, it's the Xfinity series. Today was 4 p.m. Oh, they did the Xfinity series at 4 p.m. today. Okay. Or it said yesterday. Okay, yeah, that was Saturday. Yesterday, Saturday, Xfinity race at Phoenix or at COTA. Kyle Larson won. SVG finished 27th. He was 27th. Oh, William Byron won today. That's his second win this season because he won Daytona. He won like 10 races last year, 9 races last year. The kid's on fire. I love William Byron's backstory. I love his backstory. He had never driven a real race car. And he got to college and he started playing like online league racing and stuff. And he caught the eye of Dale Jr. because Dale Jr. does play like iRacing under a different name, of course, because if he went in there under his own name, it'd be a shit show. But yeah, he runs iRacing and stuff. So he caught Dale Jr.'s eye with how good he was in iRacing. And Junior helped him get a ride with Hendrick Racing. And he has really turned out to be a pretty good hire for them. He's 9 races last year, I think he won, and he's already won 2 this year. He's 14th in the points bracket for towards the championship. But yeah, he finished 27th today or yesterday. And give him some time to learn these cars and learn because that's the problem he has right now. He's really good on road courses, or typically, because the V8 series in Australia, they run road courses. They don't run you know turn left loops, turn left ovals. So he's not used to oval track racing, which is way different than road course. So he's going to have some adjustment period. And that's why he goes to Xfinity, so that way he's not, accidentally interfering in the Cup Series championships by possibly wrecking somebody that's in contention or whatever. So they put him in the Xfinity series where he can go down and basically practice for a year in heavy bodied stock cars that have, pretty high horsepower. I like him. I think he's going to go places. He's definitely the future of this sport, probably even the present, because Hendrick Motorsports just had a driver pop some kind of a cork or something out of the end of the. What am I talking about? I am falling asleep sitting here talking to y'all. Holy shit. Oh, it is good. I'm glad to see that we've got foreign drivers coming in now. Daniel Suarez won a race this year. You know, he's a Mexican native. He's from Mexico City. Not only did he win a race, he won the exhibition race they did in the LA Coliseum. And then he's also won a regular season race. So he's locked into the playoffs already for the end of the year. It took William Suarez a few years to really get the hang of this, but past couple of years he's been pretty good. Yep. Scott Dixon. I know who he is. Didn't he retire or is he still driving? I thought he retired and was on TV now, but I may be wrong. I don't keep up with IndyCar at all. Because back in the day, I was that crowd was, NASCAR was the only racing you watched if you watched NASCAR. IndyCar was the only racing you watched if you watched IndyCar. It was almost a rivalry between the two. Ah, yeah, still driving last. He used to be pretty good. Scott Dixon used to be a front runner. But then again, he's getting older and your reflexes aren't what they used to be. In IndyCar, you got to have super fast reflexes. I mean, you're going 220 some miles an hour around that oval. All right, y'all. I think it's about that time. I'm sitting here like dozing off. Um, Hope it wasn't snoring that time. It is 11 o'clock, so I started an hour late, so I ran an hour later than I normally would. So I will talk to y'all next Sunday night. It's Easter, so if you can make it Easter night, hop in, say hi. I'll be here. I got nowhere to go on Easter. It's going to be a dead week for Uber. Well, not really. I think Tuesday night and Thursday night there's some intel on some parties going on that we think are going to make it pretty busy Tuesday and Thursday. So I'll probably drive those nights, but I won't drive much on Friday or Saturday for sure because that's going to be, nobody will be here. Usually there's nobody here. Now, I've also heard several carloads last night told me that they don't even know people that are planning on leaving for Easter. So you either got historical data to go by or what the kids are saying now. So I don't know. But either way, probably won't be driving next weekend. So I won't be in this kind of shape of just ready to pass out sitting here at my desk. So I will see y'all next Sunday. And until then, rock on, y'all, and roll tide.